Last time on Turbo Build, we got some paint on the Fastback. And this time, we're going to finish it off. G'day folks, my name is Brendan and welcome again to Turbo Build. As you can see, this time we're going to be finishing off the Fastback. That means getting windows installed and finalising the mounting to get it all done. Let's start by peeling off the old tape that we'd put around the window seal so it's all ready for when we get that rear window glued in. Now, as you can see, I rather conveniently got a set of window templates, which I'm going to be able to base my own windows on. I'm not going to be using these particular ones here, these are just a mock-up to give me an idea and to get the right size. I'm going to be making my own windows, and let me show you how I do it. Now for the side windows, I'm using this glass, and you probably work out why fairly quickly. I'm going to lay them down side by side so get a bit of an idea on how big they need to be, and I'm going to be taping an area with some masking tape, which is going to be the work area that I need to contain myself within. Contain what, you might ask? Well, let's do some quick measurements. And let's prep this glass. This is some blue PVA mold release. It's good stuff for keeping epoxy from getting stuck to things. Because we're going to make some side windows out of some carbon fibre. Now these windows obviously don't need to hold any significant strength. They're purely for aesthetics and to fill the hole that's in the side of the Fastback. But I don't really need to see out of them. So I've opted for a carbon fibre window, because it's probably the lightest option you can go with. It doesn't need to be strong, and it's a bit of race car sexiness being carbon fibre. Ooh, real carbon fibre. Ooh. Although the roof is actually carbon fibre. Anyway, this is nothing particularly fancy. 3 layers with actually, well, the middle layer is actually a bit of woven fiberglass, but nonetheless, just some simple hand-laid, fairly lightweight cloth, good enough for some very basic windows. So, after the PVA mold release is dried, I lay the cloth over the glass, layer in some resin, throw a few more layers of cloth over, squeegee it all up so that there's not too much resin in there, and let it cure. And so, after it's set, I'm able to peel off the glass, and we've got a nice, fairly lightweight sheet of what will be some windows. Now I've left this in the sun for a little while to post-cure. Thankfully it's quite a nice sunny day, and we can mark out now our cutouts for the windows. And because this is quite thin, it's fairly easy to cut. You can see some blue markings on the carbon here. That's some of that PVA mold release that hasn't quite come off. It's easily washed off in water. But you can see the gloss on the side window there, and that's thanks to using that glass that we used as sort of a base. I've just mocked up the window there, we'll have to come back and glue it in later. Onto the rear window now, and I'm using this dodgy template that I've got to mark out some proper clear Lexan. I decided to go with a Lexan window. I wanted to be able to see out the back, I thought that was kind of important. I didn't want to go with a carbon rear window, or maybe even some sort of louvered thing like you see in a Lambo. So we're going to get this cut out, and then I'll show you what we're going to do next. Now what I've done, I've cut an edge all the way around the window, about 20 to 25 millimeters wide, and this will offer a sort of edging for the window which we can hide the adhesive behind, so that way when we glue the window down you see the black edge and you don't see the glue. By cutting away the protective film with that edge, I'm able to just use some black spray paint, paint the edge down very simply, and keep the rest of the protective plastic on there as a sort of masking tape so that we don't get paint everywhere. So I just need to carefully peel this off to make sure that it cuts exactly where I want it to, so that we get a very nice consistent edge for when we go to paint. With the protective film all removed around that edge, I'm able to paint it just with some normal, everyday black paint, and you can sort of see the idea that we're going with here. With the rear window painted, it's time to start putting them all on. Let's start with the side windows. I'm using a typical black Sikaflex. I love using this stuff for all these sorts of things. Just run a bead all the way around the window seal, push that carbon fake window in place, and for a bit of extra safety until it sets, I'm going to add a couple of bits of masking tape just to hold it in place. And then of course we do the same thing on the other side. And now that our rear window is all dried, it's time to get that glued in as well. It's much the same process as with the side windows. I'm going to lay a bead of this Sikaflex all the way around the window seal, and as you can see, this is why I didn't want to paint this seal. I feel like the Sikaflex is going to have a really good hold on that raw carbon rather than trying to glue onto the white paint. With the bead all the way around, we just neatly lay down the window, taking care to try not get this black Sikaflex everywhere, and most importantly, not on the window surface itself. And as you can see, that black stripping that we painted is certainly going to hide the glue that we've put underneath it. Now we just need to let it dry.
Eventually.
So it's been a few days. I've actually held the corners down with some bricks and some clamps to keep things in place. It's time to peel off the remainder of the protective plastic and see just what this result looks like. Wow, what a result that nice clear window looks like. It's amazing. I'm really chuffed with the finish. The black edging has worked out perfectly. It's just the right size. You can't see any of that glue behind it. It gives the roof a really professional result. Certainly better than I thought I could do. The window really lines up well with everything. It fits perfectly within the cutout of the roof. Very satisfying result. Now, of course, the last thing we need to talk about is how I actually finally mounted this thing. So I made these little, I guess you'd kind of call them C-shaped aluminium brackets, nothing special, and then it just bolts into the factory hardtop mounting spot. Around the side here, I should also show you that I've put in some foam rubber to sort of seal the door against the roof. Nothing fancy, but it should keep most of the weather and the wind out. And then up the front, you can't quite see it, but underneath the roll cage here, we've got a aluminium bracket to mount the roof to the windscreen frame. And of course, if you didn't see my previous video, The boot is mounted with this push button latch, and it's secured on these pins. And the one last thing I did was I added some of this weather stripping around the rear of the Fastback, just to keep it from causing any damage to the paint if, there's a bit of vibration or whatever and it shifts around. And with that, the roof is done, and it absolutely looks stunning. I'm really chuffed. The flowing lines, the colour, the windows, you put it all together and it looks amazing. I have to say, I'm certainly pretty honoured and quite lucky to be able to run a roof that looks this cool. And of course, it has a performance advantage by, in theory, reducing lift. Anyway folks, that is it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Check out our Facebook page, check out our Instagram, and of course, have a look at our website, BEAVISMotorsport.com. It's been so great to have you here. Thanks for sticking around. We'll see you next time.